It promises to set the world on a new path to a low emissions, climate resilient future.
It's a victory for all of the planet and for future generations.
This is a pivotal moment, for we have concluded a new global legal agreement that will see all countries commit to taking ambitious steps in accordance with their national circumstances and capabilities.
It is our view, indeed, that the agreement is balanced and the best that we can get at this historic moment.
Cheers went up as the French foreign minister brought down the gavel, declaring the Paris Agreement had been accepted. In all, nearly 200 nations agreed to join the fight against climate change. The pact aims to keep global temperatures from rising another Celsius degree between now and the start of the 22nd century.
The world has come together around an agreement that will empower us to chart a new path for our planet, a smart and responsible path, a sustainable path.
In my first inaugural address
at the White House, President Obama echoed that view, saying it offers the best chance to save the one planet we have.
Make no mistake, the Paris Agreement establishes the enduring framework the world needs to solve the climate crisis. It creates the mechanism, the architecture, for us to continually tackle this problem in an effective way.
I think we're on the way.
Saturday's adoption was held up for a time as the U.S. sought changes to the document's wording. Experts say the accord probably won't need congressional approval.
Climate justice!
Thousands of protesters assembled near the Eiffel Tower to demonstrate their opposition, saying the final result is too weak to save the planet.
One country hit right in the wallet by plunging oil prices is Russia. Its economy has lost billions. Russia's second quarter GDP shrank more than 4.5% from the same period last year, and that was worse than the forecasts of the Russian finance ministry. Low oil prices and Western sanctions for actions in Ukraine have contributed to Russia's worst contraction since 2009.
The latest weakness in global oil prices has put renewed pressure on Moscow, with Russia's national currency, the ruble, falling against the dollar and euro.
Global oil prices affect Russia's economy because one of the biggest components of the economy is export of natural resources. So prices for oil directly affect the amount of export and the GDP of Russia.
Some estimates suggest every dollar of drop in oil prices costs Russia $1 billion. With oil prices down from $114 a barrel last June, that would represent potential lost revenue for Moscow of over $50 billion.
Global oil prices have plunged to 7-year low in the wake of recent summit of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. Oil prices tumbled by 5% after OPEC refused to cut its output. Benchmark Brent crude stands at $41 a barrel, while the U.S. light crude is trading for less than $38 per barrel. On Friday, some OPEC members, with Saudi Arabia as the biggest oil exporting state, declined to stop supplying the market with cheap oil. Iran's imminent return to its pre-sanctioned supply rate has also raised fears of a glut of oil. The rise in the value of U.S. dollar with which oil is traded has also affected the price.
Every time there's a new phase in American neoconservative and Zionist militarism that is expressed in hostility toward Russia and toward increasing NATO's militaristic attitudes and positions vis-a-vis Russia, I'm amazed as this develops that the American public cannot see that their government has moved from merely being criminal and being run by a criminal cabal to being criminally insane. The fact is that when we look at this whole issue of Vladimir Putin's Russia and NATO, the United States has broken a series of explicit promises to Russia made by President Reagan and President Bush and codified in an agreement during the Clinton administration in the 1990s that, among other things, the United States would not move American and NATO military assets closer to Russian borders. We have broken that promise. We promised that we would not recruit former Eastern Bloc countries to join NATO. We have broken that promise. And then, of course, we have proceeded in what we've been doing against Russian interest in Ukraine, where we supported an illegal coup d'etat there in February of 2014. And, of course, what the United States has been doing in conjunction with Israel and Saudi Arabia and Turkey and the Gulf Cooperation Council states in supporting ISIS, yes, supporting ISIS, and supporting al-Qaeda affiliates in Syria in an attempt, among other things, to marginalize the Russian position in that part of the world. We have really been pushing the envelope. These policies are wrong, they're evil, and they're immoral, yes, but beyond that, they're simply insane. Why? Because Russia is a proud nation. Russia is a legitimate military power. Russia is a nuclear power.
Russia is keeping its nuclear deterrence tit for tat toward threats, especially nuclear ones. That's according to Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. In the annual Defense Ministry board meeting on Friday, Shoigu said Russia's nuclear triad is equipped by 55% of modern weaponry.
The strategic nuclear forces are at a level which guarantees to solve the problem of nuclear deterrence. Over 95% of missile launchers are in constant readiness for use by the strategic missile forces.
Shoigu's remarks are seen as a response to the ongoing expansion of NATO. In his address, the minister said NATO has expanded almost twofold in a short period of time, and about 200 U.S. nuclear bombs are deployed in Europe. The minister said Moscow is preparing a plan to be ready for any projected military conflict.
Any force threatening Russian air groups fighting terrorism in Syria should be immediately destroyed. And that warning came from Vladimir Putin at the end-of-year meeting of the Defense Ministry.
I order you to act as tough as possible. Any targets threatening the Russian grouping or our land infrastructure should be immediately destroyed. Our actions there are not guided by some unclear abstract geopolitical interests, nor are they guided by a desire to practice and test new weapon systems, which is of course important in itself. The most important thing is not this. The most important thing is to prevent the threat to Russia itself.
The Russian Defense Ministry summoned the Turkish military attaché over the incident. It said in a statement a Turkish fishing vessel had failed to respond to warnings but had sharply changed course after shots were fired before passing within just over 500 meters from the warship. The incident, which occurred on Sunday morning, is likely to heighten tensions between the two nations, which are seriously at odds over Syria and the Turkish shooting down of a Russian military jet last month.
Well, we're still waiting to get some word from the Turkish government. They have not yet responded to the incident. So right now, all the information we are being provided with is from the Russian Defense Ministry, who basically said what you've just said, that their destroyer, the Smit-Levy, was anchored just off the Greek island of Lemnos, and the Turkish fishing boat came within 500 meters of it. And they say despite numerous attempts by the crew, the Turkish fishing boat did not make radio contact and did not respond to visual signals by the Smit-Levy. So they were then forced to ignite a small arms fire, basically, to set off small arms fire at the direction of the Turkish vessel in a range that they say was not lethal, but to warn it to avoid any collision. Again, we have not heard any comment from the Turkish government, but on Friday, Turkey's Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu did warn that Ankara's patience with Russia was not unlimited and did accuse Moscow of using every opportunity to punish Turkey for the downing of their plane over what Turkey says was Turkish airspace in late November. Since then, the two sides have been going head-to-head. There's been a lot of accusation from Moscow against Ankara and vice versa. So this is just another incident in an increasing list of disagreements between both sides.
At the moment, we are taking part in a national convention on the welfare state to outline an agenda for the next 10 years. However, social assistance is in danger since they want to make adjustments to the Bolsa Familia subsidies. And the impeachment process demolishes what we have built to guarantee these rights.
Ella Barna, a member of Solidarity political party, handed Prime Minister Alseny Yatsenyuk a bouquet of roses and then unexpectedly dragged him away from the rostrum. A scuffle broke out in the Ukrainian parliament as Yatsenyuk's supporters rallied to defend him, which met a resistance from Barna's allies. The tension surfaced after Barna earlier accused the Ukrainian government of ineffectiveness and started to collect the signatures in the parliament for a resolution to oust the prime minister. In recent months, Yatsenyuk has faced a harsh criticism from some lawmakers and civil society activists over an alleged lack of reforms in the country, little progress in the fight against corruption, and involvement of the cabinet itself into corruption schemes. Earlier in the day, about 1,000 people blocked the street outside the parliament building to demand the ouster of Yatsenyuk and his cabinet.
The demonstration Saturday was called for by the umbrella group of Shiite militias in Iraq whose power rivals that of the Iraqi army. The protest was attended by militia leaders and some Shiite politicians. Turkey has had troops near Mosul since last year, but the arrival of additional troops last week sparked uproar in Baghdad. Ankara subsequently halted new deployments. On Friday, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan repeated that Turkey would not pull out troops already stationed in Iraq and that the training process in agreement with Iraq would continue.
16 shots! 16 shots! 16 shots!
More than 300 protesters marched through downtown Chicago, renewing calls for the mayor to resign in the wake of the shooting of black teenager Laquan McDonald.
They shot a young black boy 16 times. He was dead, and they still shot him. Now that's why we out here.
Protesters say they are not satisfied with the recent resignation of high-ranking police officials, saying the system is corrupt to the core.
He's not getting to the root of the problem, and I think it's him and his administration. And as long as he removes people and continues to handpick who he puts in office, then we have the same problem.
Protester Quo Vadis Green says he has two younger brothers and that he wants himself and them to be free from the potential for police violence.
So I could be one of these victims. Bullets don't have a name, and as we see all the time, the officers are quick to shoot. So for me, it's personally important because I want to make sure that he does not have to go through what we're going through, so that when he's my age, we're not fighting the same issue that we've been fighting.
Protests are scheduled to continue as the local county government begins hearings as an investigation into the allegations that the Chicago Police Department has been running a secret interrogation facility called Pullman Square. Reporting it.
The blast took place at around 12:30 p.m. local time when people were buying winter clothes in the market. Dozens of people were also injured in the deadly explosion. 2 vehicles and several shops were destroyed. Officials say the blast was triggered by a remote-controlled device. 2 suspects have been arrested by law enforcement agencies and moved to an unidentified location for investigation. Villagers in El Hajawara in northern Haja province say multiple air bombings killed 12 people in their homes and wounded 30 others, while residents in the southern district of Kabitia say 7 civilians have been killed in an attack on a market. The strikes took place only a day before a UN-brokered ceasefire was due to start on Monday. The 7-day ceasefire is set to start ahead of planned UN-sponsored peace talks in Switzerland to end 8 months of war.
The 11-hour siege near the Spanish embassy ended early Saturday morning. 2 Spanish nationals, 1 Afghan national and 5 police officers were among those killed. 4 attackers were also killed, and police said they rescued 12 guests trapped in a targeted building. And Taliban militants have claimed responsibility for the raid. A Taliban spokesman told local media that the attack was part of the group's offensive called Azam. Clashes broke out after 3 military sites were attacked in Burundi's capital, Bujumbura. The army says there were over 150 gunmen, 79 were killed and 45 captured. 8 security officers also died. The United Nations Security Council has unanimously adopted a resolution calling for immediate peace talks between all parties in the country, and the U.S. has condemned the clashes, voicing fears the Central African nation could slide back into ethnic conflict, and more than 300 have died since unrest in Burundi started in April, when President Pierre Nkurunziza announced plans for his 3rd term in office.
The leader of North Korea says his country has become a powerful nuclear state. But that's not all. Kim Jong-un said North Korea is ready to, quote, detonate self-reliant atomic and hydrogen bombs. That's according to North Korea's official news agency, KCNA, on Thursday. Kim said North Korea's nuclear bombs are aimed at defending the country's sovereignty.
Patriarch of Lebanon Cardinal Mar Betchara Boutros called on Friday for efforts to make peace in the chaotic Middle East. The Patriarch was on a visit in Egypt, made remarks during his meeting with the Pope Tawados II of Alexandria and Patriarch of St. Mark. During their meeting, Mar Betchara said he prays for the sake of Palestine, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen to stop wars and conflicts taking place in those countries, adding the real heroism is to create peace, not war. Mar Betchara came to Cairo to open new headquarters of the Maronite Diocese of Egypt in Sudan, as he will meet with a number of religious leaders and public figures. He'll also express his thanks to the Egyptian people and President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi for their support in the neighboring countries in the wider Middle East.
We ask Israel to give the bodies of the martyrs back. If the occupier wants to make us suffer by stealing and keeping the bodies of the martyrs, we'll make them suffer by being patient and determined.
Thousands of Hamas supporters took to the streets of Gaza following Friday prayers to mark the resistance movement's 28th birthday. The rally was also aimed at supporting the new Palestinian Intifada, or popular uprising that started on 1st of October. In recent months, Israeli forces killed over 100 Palestinians, including around 20 in Gaza, who were protesting against the desecration of the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound by Israeli soldiers and settlers. During the rally, the Hamas leadership renewed its commitment to free Jerusalem al-Quds.
The huge crowd that we see here is a clear indicator that after 28 years of its outset, Hamas continues to grow stronger and more popular. Hamas and its supporters are determined to liberate Jerusalem al-Quds and the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Hamas was founded in 1987, in the same year as the first Palestinian Intifada, and won the Palestinian legislative elections in 2006. Its popularity continues to rise among Palestinians from all walks of life.
We fully support Hamas and the resistance in order to free our prisoners and end the occupation of Jerusalem al-Quds.
Hamas has thousands of members in its military wing, the Qassam Brigades, who fought fierce battles against Israeli soldiers during the recent war on Gaza. A senior Hamas official said the group will liberate Jerusalem al-Quds.
We will never give up our rights, and we will continue to fight for Jerusalem al-Quds. God willing, Hamas will liberate Palestine and Jerusalem al-Quds. Hamas and its resistance wing will continue to support this Intifada until the end of the Israeli occupation.
The Palestinian resistance group Hamas enjoys strong support in the Palestinian society for refusing to recognize Israel and its adherence to armed resistance against the Israeli occupation.
Someone has painted a large swastika in Buckhead with Donald Trump's face at the center of it. The Republican presidential candidate is seen wearing a Hitler mustache and a $100 bill bow tie inside a huge swastika. The Atlanta Police Department is already on scene waiting for someone to clean it up, but whoever painted it is certainly trying to send a message.
Anti-Muslim attacks, they have been on the rise since last week's massacre, and there are concerns that Donald Trump's comments could incite more violence. ABC's Matt Gutman is in San Bernardino with that part of the story. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, George. A week after the attacks in that conference building behind me, Muslim groups are saying that they are now the targets of increasing intimidation and threats. They're saying that it's even changing the way some people go out, the way they dress, even the way they pray. It's being called the biggest spike in anti-Islamic incidents since 9/11. And it's not just rhetoric. In Philadelphia, surveillance video of a pig's head thrown at a mosque. The FBI now investigating. Threatening voicemails left at a mosque in St. Louis.
Come my way, and I'll dare you all cut your head off.
And in Dallas,
I hope you get sprayed with pig's blood, okay? You are just...
This Palm Beach, Florida mosque vandalized. Windows smashed, all of this triggering fear.
You feel scared as an American about what's happening in our country, but then at the very same time, you're afraid for your own life because of, what people are doing in retaliation.
The Council on American Islamic Relations saying the spike follows both the San Bernardino rampage and Donald Trump's calls for a ban on Muslim immigration. And here in San Bernardino, intimidation. The mosque Syed Farouk attended threatened the night after the rampage. And mosque attendance is down. One of its members confronted at a memorial. You'd been sort of really confronted.
It was, he was really passionate. He was really angry.
Some are changing their behavior.
Go out in a group. If I was going to go alone, I wouldn't go alone. I'll take 2-3 guys with me.
And even changing their dress.
Amongst the women and stuff, I've heard, don't wear hijab anymore. Take it off.
Now to South Carolina tonight, into the scandal erupting at one of America's top military colleges. At least 8 cadets at the Citadel now suspended tonight after this image. They say they were singing Christmas carols. ABC senior national correspondent Jim Avila with the outrage and the school's response tonight.
Tonight, the Citadel under scrutiny for these images, showing cadets dressed in white with pillowcases over their heads in a scene some say resembles the Ku Klux Klan. Posted on Facebook by a woman who saw a video of the scene and was disturbed by it. The South Carolina State Military School, founded before the Civil War to defend slavery and still flying the Confederate flag on campus. Today, those 8 cadets suspended and removed from campus after they were seen dressed all in white. The students told school administrators they were portraying ghosts of Christmas past, but the school president, in a statement, called the display offensive and disturbing. Minority students, who make up less than 8% of the student body, said the cadets in sheets reminded them of the Klan.
It's stupid if these college students did not find the optics of that to be disturbing.
The school has launched an investigation, and further punishment is possible.
Some black pastors say the Black Lives Matter movement isn't going to solve the problems facing the inner cities, and neither is the government. A number of urban pastors gathered in Washington Wednesday to say the Black Lives Matter movement concentrates on police violence against blacks, but they argue it does nothing to solve the plagues of poverty, fatherlessness, crime, and immorality that ravage inner cities. They're pushing Project Awakening, a plan to unite churches, businesses, and private institutions to renew cultural values and rescue urban lives and communities.
Government has not helped the situation. It's only made the situation worse. So we're looking to partner with corporations and private foundations and bring in mentors and begin to get the entrepreneurial juices of people flowing. I've said many, many times, it should not be that the drug dealer is the primary entrepreneur in the black community.
The pastors say concentrating on racism will not solve the crisis of urban America. They argue instilling traditional values and a renewed respect for capitalism and work in young people will do much more to pull them up out of hopelessness and poverty.
Geneva is on high alert. On Thursday, the Swiss city increased its security alert level. Authorities say they're looking for suspects that had possible links to terrorism. Heightened security measures have been implemented at Geneva Airport as well as international organizations. Geneva's security department says it believes the suspected individuals are located in Geneva or in the Geneva region. According to federal police in the capital Bern, it has not yet been confirmed whether the suspects are linked to the terror attacks in Paris last month. According to local media, Swiss authorities are looking for 6 men, 4 of whom have suspected ties to the Islamic State. Geneva first raised its alert level after the Paris attacks, which killed 130 people last month.